Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Bandau Gurupada Paduma Paraga Suruchi Subasa Sarasa Anuraga Amiyamuri Me Churana Charu Samana Sakala Bhavaruja Parivaru Sukriti Sambhutana Bimala Vibhuti Manjula Mangala Moda Prasuti Janamana Manju Mukura Malaharani Kiye Tilaka Gunagana Basakarani Shri Gurapada Nakhamani Gana Jyoti Sumirata Debya Drishti Hoti Dalana Moha Tamaso Saprakasu Bade Bhaga Ura Avai Jasu Ugharahi Bimala Bilochanahi Ke Mitahi Dosha Dukha Bhavarajani Ke Sujhahi Ramacaritamani Manika Kuput Pragat Jahajo Jehi Khanik Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jatha Suvanjana Anjidriga Sadhak Siddha Sujan Kautuk Dekhat Sailabana Bhutal Bhuri Nidhan Siyavar Ramchandra Ki Jai Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai Umapati Mahadev Ki Jai. I greet the pollen-like dust of the lotus feet of my preceptor, refulgent, fragrant, and flavored with love. It is a lovely powder of the life-giving herb which allays the host of all the attendant ills of mundane existence. It adorns the body of a lucky person even as white ashes beautify the person of Lord Shiva and brings forth sweet blessings and joys. It rubs the dirt off the beautiful mirror in the shape of the devotee's heart. When applied to the forehead in the form of a tilak, it attracts a host of virtues. The splendor of gems in the form of nails on the feet of the blessed Guru unfolds divine vision in the heart by its very thought. The luster disperses the shades of infatuation. Highly blessed is he in whose bosom it shines. With its very appearance, the bright eyes of the mind get opened. The attendant evils and sufferings of the night of mundane existence disappear, and gems and rubies in the shape of stories of Sri Ram, both patent and hidden, wherever and in whatever mind they may be, come to light. As for instance, by applying to the eyes the miraculous salve known by the name of Siddhanjana, the eye salve of perfection, strivers, adepts, as well as men of wisdom easily discover a host of minds on hilltops, in the midst of forests, and in the bowels of the earth.
After glorifying his Guru in the last sorta of the Sumiran, Tulsidas Ji commences the first stanza of the Manas in the meter of Chopais and Doha. This entire stanza continues with the glorification and exaltation of his Gurudev. He speaks about the dust of the feet of his Guru and his toenails on the feet of the Guru. And these verses are so elegant and so elevating, in which no better homage can be paid to one's preceptor. When speaking of the dust of the lotus feet of his Guru, he says, just as the pollen of the lotus flower is fragrant and flavored with love, so too the dust of his Guru's feet. And just as a bumblebee is enamored of the lotus flower and constantly buzzes above it, so too the mind of Tulsidas Ji constantly hovers over the feet of his Guru. He says that this dust of the lotus feet, apart from being like the pollen of a lotus flower and what it means to the bee, it is also like the dust, which is the ashes of the yajna that Shankar Bhagwan smears over his body. So too, the dust of the Guru's feet is pure and sacred, like the ashes that Lord Shiva smears on his body. And it is something that gives sanctity, that gives value to the devotee or disciple. Just as the ashes of the yajna is enhanced on the body of Lord Shiva, the dust of the lotus feet of the Guru is enhanced on the body of the disciple. And he says that fortunate and lucky is a person in whose body the dust of the Guru's feet falls. In other words, the grace of the Guru. Fortunate is a disciple who has the grace of his Guru. When speaking about the dust of the lotus feet of the Guru, he also gives another very important function that is in everyday life, and that of ashes. Ashes are used to clean mirrors. In the early days, when there were no glass mirrors, and mirrors were shiny metal of brass or copper, then to shine it, to show a good reflection, ashes used to be rubbed on it. So Tulsidas Ji says, the dust of the Guru's feet, when it is rubbed on the mirror of my mind, then my mind becomes clear and the vision becomes perfect. This thought is so important that Tulsidas Ji repeats this line in or a similar thought in the Hanuman Chalisa and also in the first stanza of the Ayodhya Kand of the Ramcaritmanas. And that is a very famous line that everybody knows. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhar. That exactly same thought is depicted here in this verse that Tulsidas Ji has written. Although the words are different, the thought is the same. Then moving on from the dust to the fingernails of the Guru's feet, or the toenails of the Guru, Tulsidas Ji says they are like gems, and it disperses the ignorance, a darkness of ignorance from the devotee's heart. So if the devotee imprints on his heart the jewel-like toenails of the Guru, then it will cast its luster in the Guru, in the disciple's heart, and will illuminate the most profound truths. Elsewhere in the Ramcaritmanas, Tulsidas speaks of different forms of illumination. When we want to light up a room, in the days before electricity, they used to light a lamp. A lamp was used to light up a room. But Tulsidas says the disadvantage of a lamp is that it requires a wick, it requires fuel in the form of ghee or oil, and it requires a still atmosphere. If there's a gusty wind, then the lamp will be blown off, and darkness will prevail again. But a brilliant gem, like a ruby or a sapphire or an emerald, in a dark room, it will give off a glow, it will give off a luster, and it will give off a light. And that light is not dependent on the outside factors. No wick is needed, no oil is needed, nothing. And even the strongest of wind will not disperse that luster, disperse that light. So, of all things that illuminate, the best is a precious stone. And the nails of the Guru's feet are like these precious stones. In the early days, money was used also to divine precious metals and gems within the earth. A special jewel was used by which yogis could find out what was under the ground. So likewise, Tulsidas uses this example here to say that with the brightness of the Guru's grace, the gems that are already in the devotee's heart that he does not know of and which he would not otherwise discover, he will discover it with the grace of the Guru. This is what he meant by Suanjana. This was a miraculous salve that was used for people to find out hidden mines within the ground, or in the middle of, or in the midst of a jungle. In this stanza, we find such a great exaltation of Tulsidas for his Guru that he exhausted everything that needed to be said in praise of the Guru. This thought continues into the first chopai of the next stanza, which we will deal with in our next reading. But after this, Tulsidas does not mention his Guru again. But just this one stanza, the last line of the Sota, this whole stanza, and the first chopai of the next stanza is sufficient to compensate for the praise of the Guru that has not been given elsewhere in the Ramayana. Of course, Tulsidas speaks about the importance of the Guru in different contexts, but he never speaks about his own Guru again. But the Guru is always important. In fact, it is of paramount importance in the spiritual path. And this is why Tulsidas has so eloquently and so beautifully drawn our notice and our attention to the importance of the Guru, so that we too will have it entrenched in our heart how great and how important it is to have a Guru and to allow that Guru to mold us and to bring out the spirituality that is latent within us so that we can achieve our own salvation. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.